Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am down here in sunny and beautiful West Palm Beach on the beach right now, ready to bring you guys some amazing content from Turning Point USA's week of conferences. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Phares, and you're watching Speechless. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. Thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, I am no longer on that beautiful beach. I sure as heck wish I was, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know I had a brief hiatus there while I was down in West Palm Beach, but that's what I'm going to cover today. I'm so happy to be back. My daily show is resuming. Daily. That's what we're going with now. And I'm going to cover a lot of what I did down in West Palm Beach. But first, everybody, I do want to bring up that this show is brought to you by Paul Garcia Productions. Paul Garcia Productions out of Central Illinois does amazing work helping out businesses. That's what he does. He makes video advertisements, and the mics that I used down in West Palm Beach were his, and he really helped me out there. So I know the audio quality might have been a little bit rough on a little bit of the videos I'm going to show you today, but it is entirely user error. I will tell you that, because Paul Garcia Productions does amazing work. And if you are in Central Illinois and want your business to get more business, visit Paul Garcia Productions today. The info of it is in the description. But let's get right down to it. So why was I in West Palm Beach? Why did I get this really cool hat here? Well, I was in West Palm Beach visiting for a few different Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action conferences. So Turning Point USA, for anybody who does not know, is the leading youth conservative organization in the country. Conservative youth activist organization. They are on thousands of college and high school campuses, encouraging youth to genuinely be educated and then also inform their peers of what the conservative perspective is. Yeah, that's what Turning Point USA does. Anybody who doesn't know where I got my start, I started my Turning Point USA chapter when I was a freshman in college back in 2019. I started it not really knowing how much backlash I would really get. I started it within the first 2 months. I had been physically assaulted by a professor. I'll tell you guys this story real quick. So I was physically assaulted by a professor. So I was hanging up posters in our political science department building. Figured that would be the best way to gain attraction to this new club I was starting. And a professor walked by, not one of my professors, but I could tell he was a professor based on his age. And he asked me what I was doing. And I told him, hey, I want to start this club here. I want everybody to be able to know that there is a conservative opinion here at ISU, and we won't be silenced. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he told me to enjoy hell. And as a Catholic, I didn't take kindly to that. So I asked, sir, why would you say something like that? And he kind of started scurrying up to his office. And so I followed him. I'll admit I followed him. I'm not going to let this guy get away with saying something like that to a student. I'm not going to let him get away with it. And so I followed him back to his office. I knocked on his door and I said, sir, I'd like an apology, an explanation as to why you think that's okay to say to a student, or else I'm going to take this to your department chair. I knocked and I said that. I could hear typing in the office. I could tell he was in there. Coward. So I went to take a picture of his nameplate by his door so that I would remember exactly who he was. And he begins to open the door at that exact second. He sees my phone and a switch flips in his mind. It flips. He goes crazy. Tries to grab my phone, grabs my arm. And then when he realizes he can't get my phone, and I'm trying to take a video of this going on because there's no cameras in this building, and I'm trying to take a video of me being manhandled by a professor, he gets his arm around me, puts his foot in front of me, and hip tosses me, throws me to the ground. We start getting into a little bit of a yelling altercation. A student that was around the corner comes by, tries to see what's going on. Another professor from down the hall that heard some commotion comes down. And I asked him, I say, is this okay? Is this condoned by the university? What is wrong with this guy? Who does this guy think he is? To assault me, simply physically assault and commit battery against me simply because of what I believe in. Who does this guy think he is? Moron. And so this happens. We end up going our separate ways. That's what the professor said was best. And then not the one that assaulted me, the one that had come down the hallway, said, go your separate ways, file a police report with those that it is necessary. And so I do. I file a police report. I was physically assaulted. I was really scared. I was a freshman. Many people say, why didn't you press charges? Why is he not in jail? Well, both my parents went to my school, Illinois State University, and I had just started there. I didn't want to start off and be known as the kid that gets physically assaulted by a professor and then sues the school. Now I look back on it, and I probably should have sued the guy, but where I was at that time in my life, I wasn't ready for it. So I asked for an apology and to talk with the president of the university, have a serious conversation about political tolerance at ISU, because obviously it was far and few between. So I did have an apology with him and his department chair, in which he laid out how this is totally it's not characteristic of who he is in the classroom or anything like that. Little did I know when he was giving the apology, he actually was complaining to the class about an annoying conservative kid. I had a friend in the class, an annoying conservative kid he talked about in his class that harassed him in the hallway. But nevertheless, I still got my apology. I still did. I got my apology. And I told him at the end of it, I was given a chance. If there's anything I had to say, I could say it. And so I did. And so what I said to him is I said, sir, you might think, and others might think, that any other person would say, shit. I'm allowed to say that. I'm not on air right now. Shit. I just got assaulted by a professor, and I still got 4 more years of college. Is this really what I want to be doing? Do I really want to be this outspoken and make waves? Some people might think that. Honestly, a rational person might think that. But I told this professor, I said, look, this is not going to stop me. If anything, this invigorates me more. I am going to be loud, and I'm going to be louder than ever because of what you did to me. Because you tried to say, physically, that I shouldn't be here, that I don't belong here. You tried to say that, Professor. But look where I am now, boy. Look where I am now. I got a microphone, and I am louder than ever. At the leading conservative radio station in Central Illinois. I have a YouTube channel where I have some of the best community behind me. And not only is it through the YouTube channel, it's also because of the amazing connections I have made through Turning Point USA. And so my week in West Palm Beach was spent cultivating, continuing those connections, cultivating new ones and continuing the ones that I already had. And so before I even get into all the content and everything that I did down there, I want to give a special thank you to all my friends that I made down there. Alex, John, Ashton, the ones that, Kiara, Anna, Anthony, even. I'll give you a shout out. My other friends that I obviously had down there, Grant, David, Emma, Miriam, who you guys are going to hear from, my good friend Miriam. All of everybody, even if I missed you, I'm so sorry. Brett, there's so many. There's so many. Leslie is doing amazing things on a campaign right now. So many friends. Thank you all so much for continuing to be great allies and peers in the conservative movement. It's because of you guys and because of everyone that's viewing right now that I do what I do and that I've gotten to the place that I've become. And so thank you so much for your continued support and being an ally. I appreciate it. But so that's my story of just getting started with Turning Point USA. Ever since then, I've consistently done activist work on our campus and now even in media and everything. On our campus at Illinois State University, I've done consistent tablings. I've brought speakers such as Turning Point Influence Joe Bob, a congressman at one point, so many different people. I go out and I have conversations, try to have rational conversations with liberals. I'll tell you, it's not always rational with liberals, but we do our best. And I've been recognized greatly, and I really appreciate, again, everybody who's supported me and been an ally along the way. And Turning Point USA is just such an asset. And so I was down there in West Palm Beach for their their chapter leadership summit was the first 2 days. And their chapter leadership summit was them combining pretty much all the leading chapter leaders across the U.S., both high school and college students, to come and learn how to better be conservative activists. We got to hear from amazing speakers such as Charlie Kirk, the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA. Who else? We heard from Colby Covington, the UFC fighter. You want to know about somebody who knows about taking a punch and taking a beating? That guy sure does. Colby Covington being another one. James O'Keefe, I got to have a sit down with James O'Keefe, not for the show. I just had a great conversation with him about being in media, being in a journalist-esque and everything like that. Great conversation with James and some amazing students that are also doing journalist work on their campuses. James O'Keefe, so many great speakers, teaching us and talking to us about how to better advance conservative causes. Look, I hear consistently, and some of the people that I'm going to show you here today, I hear consistently, look, Kevin, there's no hope. There's no hope. Joe Biden's ruining the country. All these other people, all these lefty politicians, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Hunter Biden, whoever you want to say, Nancy Pelosi, they're ruining the country. Okay, you want to know what the difference between me and the people that I go to these conferences and meet at these conferences with? You want to know the difference between me and all those people that I just listed? Pretty much anyone you could list. You want to know the difference? We're younger and hungrier. The next generation is a conservative generation. And Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action are on the front lines ensuring that. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And if you don't believe me, just wait. Just wait, everybody. Just wait, because I'm going to show you some amazing people. I was also down there. They had the Student Action Summit experience, which was more of like a party. Got to hold an alligator, which was really cool. Might have that picture. I might pull it up a little bit later. Got to hold an alligator, have a lot of fun. I met a musician there. Might have him on the show, conservative musician out of Nashville. I'll talk about him at a different point. And then after that was the Student Action Conference. It was the Turning Point Action Conference, the first ever of its kind. So the difference between Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action, everybody, is what they can do in politics based on their tax filing. So Turning Point USA is a 501c3, meaning it's a nonpartisan nonprofit. Turning Point USA is dedicated to advancing conservative ideology. We don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or a libertarian, anything. We don't care. Turning Point USA is about conservatism. Heck, Charlie Kirk talked a little bit about RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And now, well, yeah, he's not conservative on everything, but he raises great points and points that oftentimes are only raised by conservatives. He's a Democrat. He's a Democrat, but we still gave him the credit he deserved at the conferences because he does deserve credit for standing up for truth, especially as it relates to the COVID vaccines. Then you also have Turning Point Action. Turning Point Action is a 501c4, meaning it is also considered a nonprofit organization, but it is allowed to get into the weeds of partisan politics. Oftentimes, from everything I can tell, for the most part, supporting Republican candidates. However, as Charlie Kirk noted at his speech at Turning Point Action, at their conference, just because somebody has an R by their name doesn't mean you could trust them. They even brought out this guy, Sags, I believe was his last name. Sags talked about he's primarying, is a Senate candidate for Senate this next year, primarying Mitt Romney. Great, exactly. And you want to know why? Because you can't trust everyone with an R behind their name. Turning Point Action recognizes that. Heck, even Turning Point USA recognizes that. You got to find the people that promote the ideology. And the next generation is there for it, and they are doing it. And so I'm going to share some videos with you guys of some interviews I did down there. Again, I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to edit some of the audio quality, but I did as best as I could. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Here is my first interview with a guy, really cool guy, Quinton Winsted. And so I talked to this guy. He's a Turning Point influencer, activist, ambassador. And so here's his video of me talking to him a little bit. 17 years old, this kid, 17 years old. And so here's Quinton.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9 and beyond. Thank you guys so much for joining me in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida, the free state of Florida. I am here today with Turning Point influencer Quinton Winsted, talking about everything under the sun. But we're going to start off with Quinton. These events, CLS, SAS, ActCon, we even have, not this weekend, but in the past, America Fest. What do these Turning Point events mean to you?
Oh, they mean everything. They mean everything. When we're out on the front lines every single day fighting in a culture war, fighting for this nation, fighting for conservative values, these events give us motivation, and they remind us, regardless of what state you live in, that you're not alone. There's a family here at Turning Point. You'll never meet a group of people that's more passionate, more respectful, just a group of God-fearing, God-loving people that want to save this country.
Absolutely. And so I want everybody to know out there, because I have a lot of viewers that are older and they get worried about the future of this country. They worry about just exactly how we're going to have a sustainable America with all the liberal crap and woke crap that we see going on. So how old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
You're 17 years old and you're this motivated. What got you into being a political activist?
Oh man, well I grew up in Oregon, around Eugene and Portland area, and I love my state. I love the people. I love the beauty. But as I grew up, I saw liberal policy absolutely ruin my state. And now I'm based in Montana. But when I moved to Montana, I decided, and even while I lived in Oregon, I decided to fight because I realized that this country is worth fighting for. This is the best country in the world. It's the best country that has ever existed, and that deserves to be fought for. I find my motivation because I saw the socialist policy absolutely trample the freedom that was held in the state of Oregon.
So you grew up in Oregon,
Of course.
and tell me a little bit more about your story of growing up there. I know you have kind of an interesting take on where you came from that a lot of people might not be able to, might not recognize.
No, of course. Yeah, so many people that attend events like this, you know, they grew up in much higher class families. You know, there's people that have grown up much worse off than me, but I didn't come from a super high class family, you know, smaller towns outlying in the big city areas, and that wasn't easy because they're very liberal, as are the big cities as well. And that was a very interesting environment to grow up in as a conservative activist.
So comparing your time growing up in Oregon to the people and the community that you meet in Turning Point USA, what's the difference?
People that are with Turning Point USA are happy. They live happy lives. They're happy to be alive. You come to this conference, you look around, everybody's got a smile on their face. Everybody's happy to be here. You see someone, you shake their hand, you give them time. You hold the door for someone. You're there for them. It's a sense of family. It truly is. You go to Oregon where that leftist policy is, and it's like it's a dark cloud of depression surrounding you at all times. Nobody's nice. Nobody passes on being considerate to one another, and that's very, very tough, and that creates an environment that just isn't great to live in. That's why I moved out.
Absolutely. That's why he moved out. That's why many people are leaving my home state of Illinois, why many people leave a lot of the liberal safe havens, which are absolutely becoming crime-ridden and full of absolute sin. I want you, can you please give my viewers a message of hope? What is our plan? Where are we going? And how are the young people here going to actually take what we've learned at these conferences and implement it further in our home states?
Oh man, well, all I can say is this. Turning Point USA grows at an astronomical rate every single year. We're supported by an abundance of people throughout this country, and it's starting to occur throughout the world. Everybody thinks that we're losing everywhere, but we're not. My home state of Montana, it's more red than it's been in the last 12 years. Look at Florida, where we are right now.
Free state of Florida, baby, right?
Free state of Florida.
Yep.
Free state of Florida. You see all this growth. This country isn't just going downhill. We're growing in many places. Look at Roe v. Wade being overturned.
Absolutely.
That's a massive deal. That's a massive win. Many conservatives like to focus on all the losses we take, but they don't focus on the wins. Here at Turning Point, we focus on the wins and we capitalize and we continue to win. You hear all over here, socialism sucks. We're seeing socialist policy in states like California, Oregon, Washington, New York, you name it, Illinois. All this stuff, okay? We are here to be the brick wall that stands in the way of socialism, and the socialists are not going to win. Turning Point USA will not lose. We never do. I don't remember a time Turning Point's lost.
I don't either.
Look at every year. Look at the
every year. Consistently, every year, thousands and thousands more young people, and even just community members showing up for Turning Point.
Yeah.
Quinton, what can you say to my viewers, those that are at home lost and wondering what they can do? What would you say to them? What can they do to help us out in our mission, and also in every conservative's mission to make America great again?
Oh man, the biggest thing I can say, regardless of your age and whatever situation you're in, please use your voice. Speak up. You hear someone say something that is just absolutely, I'm sorry, it's just stupid, or illogical. Please speak up. Don't be afraid to stand up for your values. I understand some of you have jobs, and many of you sacrifice things in your life to speak up, and I appreciate that. I'm not going to sit here and ask you, hey, please donate money to Turning Point USA, because there's so much you can do it helps us so much more than just donating money. Make sure you go out and vote, volunteer on local campaigns in your area, make phone calls, knock doors, encourage other people to vote. I'm sure if you're a Republican, you know people with your values that don't vote. Look at states like Oregon. I want you to go to your state, look at the amount of Republicans that actually vote. It's very sad in many states. Get Republicans out to vote, get conservatives out to vote, and that is what's going to change your state and change this nation as a whole. It's one step at a time. It's a big picture thing, and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. It will happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Quinton. I want you to be able to let everybody know, where can they find you so that they can keep following you on your journey through political activism?
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find me, Quinton Winsted, 1776. And I have a show that's going to be coming out soon, the Quinton Winsted Show. And you can find that on all my social media handles as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Quinton. Everybody, a 17-year-old that is at the forefront of the political culture war right now here in Florida. But we're going to take this nationwide, everybody. We'll be back with more Speechless after this.
And we are back with more Speechless after that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Obviously, I'm your host, Phares. If you are just tuning in during this premiere, I had a little bit of technical difficulties throughout the day, and that's why it might have taken me a little bit longer to get this out. But Quinton, gosh, 17 years old, everybody. And so if you're coming on to my streams ever and you're saying, I'm feeling, man, I need to watch Kev because he gives me hope. I know that's how it is for some people. And gosh, I'm honored that it could be me, but I don't want it to just be me. I'm not just the future. I hope to be part of it, but it's not just me. Quinton and many like Quinton are the future. Quinton's a good friend of mine. I'm sure I'll bring him on the show sometime. He's very well-spoken, very articulate, and likely to be, I don't know, maybe the next, I don't know, he reminds me of me when I was a kid. So maybe he's going to be a future politician. He's coming out with a show of some kind. Maybe they'll be involved in that, and he'll become more in the media and everything like that. But Quinton is just such a great kid and a really strong head on his shoulders, right? Right? How could you disagree with that? Quinton, God bless you, man, and thank you for coming on this show. I do have more interviews that I want to get to here. And so my next one is with a young female activist, a good friend of mine. I met her actually about a year ago now. And she had the opportunity through Turning Point USA. Again, so you want to talk about what Turning Point USA does and the offer and the opportunities they provide. It's not just sending us amazing activism kits and amazing posters, pins, and things to hand out and allowing us to bring speakers and giving activism grants. There's all that, all the stuff that we can do on our campus, but they provide experiences that enrich our soul and enrich our minds. And Miriam had a chance to take part in that. So I talked with her a little bit about her experience, not only as a Turning Point activist, but also as a woman in politics, and this very specific experience that Turning Point was able to provide for her so that she could broaden her soul and her mind. Everybody, here's that interview.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9 and beyond. I'm your host, Phares, and today I am here live at Turning Point Action's ActCon in West Palm Beach, Florida, and I have a great activist right with me, my good friend Miriam, who is very involved with Turning Point and also recently took a trip to Israel. But first, I want to start off, Miriam. So what got you involved in Turning Point USA?
So I really wanted to find like-minded individuals and be friends with those who believe the same as me and have the same values as me. And what other place to find these people than Turning Point?
Absolutely. So why are you a conservative, especially as a woman? It's oftentimes pushed in the media that, whoa, women can't, that you need the right to choose, you need to be a liberal. Why are you standing against that narrative, and why are you a conservative woman?
Right. I have always grown up to have these conservative values, and I want to continue that. So my parents instilled in me these strong values, and I want to continue to preserve that.
Absolutely. We have a lot to preserve here, and that's what Turning Point USA is working on. But not only preserve in our own nation, but also the entire biblical word of God. And so you took a trip recently to Israel through Turning Point.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that process, how you ended up going on that trip, and what the experience was like.
Yes. So first of all, I want to thank Turning Point for giving me this opportunity, this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go to Israel. It was amazing. I mean, I can't even explain how I felt when I was over there. It was the most holiest place on earth, right? It's where Jesus has walked. It's the Holy Land. And oh my gosh, it made me understand so much, just reading the Bible as well, when I was a little kid, and seeing it in front of my eyes. Not only that, but we also took we went to so many places and learned why it's very important to have a strong relationship with Israel.
After going to Israel and having that amazing experience and coming back to the United States, how did that change your perspective, or if at all, did it change your perspective on how life in the United States is?
Right. Right. It definitely did change my perspective. We definitely take living here for granted. I mean, their military over there is so strong, and that's just one example. It was just amazing.
An absolutely amazing experience. For everybody else out there that might be scared to get involved or not sure exactly what to do, what kind of advice do you have to aspiring activists or even an older generation that wants to support younger people?
Do not be scared to step out there and get out of your comfort zone and be involved. The world needs people who are not scared, and you need to get out there and just do as much as you can.
Absolutely. Everybody, a common theme of this conference, the silent majority will be silent no longer. Thank you so much, Miriam, for joining me. God bless you, and God bless everyone at home.
Yes, God bless everyone at home. Thank you guys so much for viewing. That's my good friend Miriam, and she said nobody could say it better, right? We take so much for granted here in the United States. The privileges we are afforded. Everybody wants to talk about privilege, white privilege, male privilege, straight privilege, all that kind of crap. No, we have American privilege, and it's through the experiences that was the experience of being able to go to a foreign land, go to another country, that Miriam was able to recognize that. Go all the way over to Israel. And yeah, she said she had a phenomenal time. She was able to walk in the places where Jesus Christ himself walked. But the opportunities and the environment offered in America is above everything, is above every other country. Let's be honest. America is the greatest place to live, and she was able to recognize that. And it's through Turning Point USA. So once again, I remind you, if you are sitting at home saying, man, it's only Kev, or it's only these few people I watch that are giving me hope. No. There was over at the Chapter Leadership Summits, Turning Point USA's Chapter Leadership Summit, there's over 600 young conservative activists that were leading chapters. And those were just the leaders. Think about it. Even if each and every one of those chapters only had one other member, which is not true, mine does not. I can tell you that at least. Even if they only had one, that's 1,200 young people involved. That's only just one. That's just one. So you should have hope. Everyone sitting at home should have hope. It's not just Miriam. We have so many other amazing activists. And I'm sad I wasn't able to tell all their stories just this one time, but I promise you, I'm going to keep going back to these conferences and these kinds of events so that you can hear everyone has a story. Every one of these conservative activists have a story. I just had a conversation with a few right before I got to meet a few of an amazing speaker at the event, and I'll show some of those pictures later. But I talked with a few different chapter leaders, distinguished chapter leaders, and they told me stories comparable to mine. One kid was threatened to be arrested by his college for not taking the COVID vax and refusing to. My story is not unique. And you want to know what that kid said? You want to know what he said to me? Same thing I said when I got assaulted by a professor. It only motivated him more. There's something weird about us, almost psychotic, I guess, where we thrive off of that hatred to an extent. Like we were able to take that, the hatred that we receive from our communities, from some of our peers, and say, oh my God, the fight needs to be had. The fight needs to be won. And we are the ones willing to do that. We are the ones willing to do that. So I'm telling you, you should be having hope. But it wasn't all just politics and everything. We were able to have some fun. Actually, I have a fun video here I figured I'd show. I was able to ride a bull shark. No, not a real bull shark, everybody, but I was able to ride this fun bull shark here out at the conference. You guys got to see this. You got to see this. So you might have just heard some of the audio playing, but you got to see this video. Here's me trying to ride a bull shark. You can make fun of me all day long if you think I didn't do a very good job, but here's this. Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't last very long, but I did my best. I tried. But I'll tell you, that fighting that bull shark right there, nothing compared to what conservative activists face on college campuses. So I think that's what, like, things like that Turning Point USA offers, a lot of fun. And I think it's a way for us to unwind because they know what we have to go through day to day fighting to save this country. And so they let loose a little bit. And so that's a lot of fun. But besides all the fun, we get to meet some amazing people, and we have serious conversations about how we are actually going to save this country, because we can't just go to these conferences and be like, hey, everybody, we're going to do our best, but we're not going to have a plan or anything like that. No, we got to have a plan, right? And so Charlie Kirk, at his speech at the Turning Point, so I actually got a chance, I'll provide this real quick, briefly. I got a chance to meet with Charlie very quickly. Don't worry. An interview is in the works, everybody. Do not worry. An interview is in the works. It is in the works. It's going to happen. It's going to be great, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. An interview with me and Charlie is going to happen one day. I swear. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But yeah, so Charlie gets on stage at the Turning Point Action Conference and has a lot. He has a plan for everybody. And so I actually, I went to, and this is leading up, I swear this all ties in, but I went to a local Republican GOP meeting before I went to this conference, and I had an opportunity to speak with some of the members of our community in Central Illinois. And I got to be honest, they weren't focusing on the right things. The kinds of things they wanted to focus on were how many people were going to go to a parade. And look, I get it. Parades are important to an extent. It gets a face out there, gets a name, everything like that. It does. It does. Parades have a value. However, there are a lot bigger things we need to be focusing on. There absolutely are a lot bigger things that we need to be focusing on. And Charlie hits on those right here. Everybody take a look. This is one of the things that Charlie had to say. Again, educating the young people in the future about exactly how we are going to save this country. Wrong way. There we go. About how we are going to save this country. So here's what one of the things that Charlie had to say about what we got to do during this next election cycle.
Realize is that if we want to win in 2024, we have to start to play the game that Democrats have been beating us at. We have to start to get in the arena. And it starts with securing our elections, everybody. It starts with filing lawsuits and making sure that we do not have this mass mail-in balloting. Now, everybody has a role to play. At Turning Point Action, we feel that our role to play is to try to expand the window of voting. I'll be honest. I'm a day of election guy. I like to vote on election day. At the same time, I saw what they did with Kari Lake in Arizona. We are broadcasting our play and say, hey, everybody show up on one day. And the Democrats just want us to fall into that. In certain states where actually they've embraced ballot harvesting, and like in California, and in others, Republicans can do better and better. For low propensity voters, we have to embrace the same legal methodology of harvesting votes and chasing votes where legal to increase our chances to defeat the Marxist Democrats in November of 2024. So what does this look like? Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin. This event is not just about, oh yeah, super excited, get fired up, and then you go home. This is an event of action. You know you're losing our country. And I hate when people say this, but it is darn true. If we do not win back the White House in 2024, this country's going to be in a almost irreversible position.
We have to win back the White House. And he goes on to say there is hope, and it's the young people, people like me, people like those that I talk to on this show. It's the young people. We are the hope, and we are there, and we will win. As long as we do these things, ballot harvesting, ballot chasing. Again, like he said, I like to vote on the day of election. On the day of the election, if I have to, if it doesn't work in my schedule, I will vote the day before. But we have to work on and hold our politicians accountable as well. Secure our elections. And this was a conference of action. It was also a conference of education. But before I get to the education, I do want to point out Charlie Kirk also has his own hot sauce. I always talk about the parallel economy on here. I've talked about how the Daily Wire has Jeremy Boring. He has his razors. He has his chocolate. He has so much stuff creating a parallel economy. Well, Charlie Kirk, the man in that picture right there, he has his own hot sauce. And I actually interviewed and had a taste test of it. So here is my honest, very honest, trying and reviewing of Charlie Kirk's hot sauce.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9 and beyond. I'm your host, Phares, and today I am at Turning Point Action's Action Con, and I'm here with, what's your name?
Jamie.
Jamie from Kirk's Hot Sauce, Charlie Kirk's own hot sauce. Tell me a little bit about what you guys got sampling over here today.
Yeah, we have some crackers with hot sauce. It's Charlie Kirk's secret hot sauce recipe. His old family recipe, his grandpa created it back, many years ago, and then Charlie and his family loved it so much that he decided to bottle it, and people loved it, so he decided to sell it.
That's amazing. I'm going to try a little bit right here now, and I got to see. So can you tell me any of what's in it?
Yeah, there's it's a traditional American hot sauce with roasted garlic, so it's very, very flavorful, and then it has a kick at the end. Not super spicy, but just adds a lot of flavor.
Absolutely. Everybody, this hot sauce is absolutely amazing. You can go check it out. Where can they find this hot sauce to purchase?
KirksHotSauce.com.
Amazing. KirksHotSauce.com. Go get yours today. I flip and love it. You got to try it. Thank you.
10 out of 10. I'm telling you. 10 out of 10. I'm not usually a very big hot sauce guy, but Kirk's hot sauce, dang, it was good. It was zesty. It was spicy. But it was really good. And I recommend it. Everybody go KirksHotSauce.com. Not a sponsor of the show, I will tell you. Not a sponsor of the show, not yet at least. Maybe someday. But not yet. But I loved it, and I really recommend everybody, you should go check it out because I thought it was really good. But again, these conferences, not only, there was so many other booths. You could go buy merch. You could have everything like that. But it was also educational. There was one speaker I got a chance to talk to. You may have heard of him. He's making his rise in fame, rightfully so, because he is probably one of the smartest people I have ever talked to. He has a PhD in mathematics, but has since dedicated his life to exposing Marxism and how it seeps its way into our institutions. I talked to him about where he came from, how he got his start in this, and then also what are the consequences and where are we going? How can we fight against it? I'm going to cut it up a little bit and talk to you guys in segments about exactly what this guy is saying, because he's fast paced and he's quick and he's smart as heck. So here is my conversations with the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. James Lindsay. Again, incredibly smart guy. Here's my conversation with him.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9 and beyond. I'm your host, Phares, and today I am with Dr. James Lindsay, the leading expert in honestly what is going on in our country with wokeism and Marxism and how it's putting itself into every area of our civilization. James, let us know, where did you come from?
Kind of all over the place. I mean, I grew up in academia, so to speak. I got a PhD in mathematics in 2010. I left academia right away. Turns out, I don't know if you know, there are people that are wrong on the internet, so I started to argue with them, and I discovered what was going on in gender studies and critical race theory and queer theory maybe as early as 2011 or 12, and I started to look into it. So by 2015, 16, I was getting very serious about that, and I thought, they won't let me criticize this. They say I'm not qualified. I don't have a doctorate in it. It's in math. It doesn't count. So I started to study for real, and we said, let's write a bunch of fake academic articles and publish them in research level journals, academic journals. So me and two colleagues, Pete Bogosian and Helen Pluckrose, wrote 20 academic articles, got a whole bunch of them, 7 of them accepted for publication. The Wall Street Journal caught us in the middle, so we didn't get to see how many we could really get. And in the process, I learned that I think that the end of Western civilization lays at the end of the road. They said, I said we had a paper, we said we should abuse kids out of their privilege, but we should do it compassionately. And they said, well, we like this idea, but you can't use compassion. And I was like, this is bad. If the privileged class can have no compassion directed toward it, that ends in a bad place. So I asked my wife if I could quit my job and dedicate my whole life to studying this problem and exposing it. And that was 2018. I've been doing it ever since.
Absolutely. And I just want to real quick, because some of the articles that you wrote seemed so absurd when I first heard them. Can you just lay out just a few of you said the one about compassion and abusing children for their privilege. What were some of the other topics you covered?
Well, we covered the idea that there's a rape culture in society and that we can analyze what to do about rape culture by analyzing the way that dogs hump each other at dog parks in the city, and that we can combat rape culture by taking on canine rape culture as a metaphor. And then if we train men the way that we train dogs, we can overcome rape culture. That was one. that was picked up by a leading journal in what's called feminist geography. It was given an award for excellence in scholarship. We wrote one that said the sport of bodybuilding should include fat people under a category called fat bodybuilding, where they show off their fat instead of their muscles. That was a well-received paper. There are some that are not PG, so that we won't talk about those. One was a rewrite of chapter 12 of Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, and we wrote it as intersectional feminism instead of the Nazi party movement, and that was accepted by a feminist social work journal. And so it was pretty wide-ranging in scope and pretty revelatory as to how corrupted the peer review system is. And what it will validate as what they call knowledge. And so they're pretty wild. It's difficult to do justice to how crazy they are. People who are interested, there's a documentary that just came out about it like a month ago called The Reformers. I'm in it, obviously. You can go watch that, look it up, The Reformers. It was by a man named Mike Nana. You can check that out.
That's amazing. And so moving on from that,
This guy, right, literally wrote journals that were practically parody that got accepted. He rewrote Mein Kampf, a chapter of it, as if it was feminist. And it got accepted and praised. Excuse me. Can you believe this? This shows you how corrupt academia is and how in love with itself it is. Literally wrote one that was about how we should abuse the privileged class's children. Young white children, basically, young white or whatever is considered to be the privileged class. Young white, young wealthy, young straight. Abuse them, but he said do it with compassion so that they lose their privilege. And they said no compassion, no compassion. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? That is what, and so I laugh in there, but it's terrifying. That is what academia accepts. And so to bring this back to the very beginning, this is what college conservatives are dealing with. A lot of people that push crap like that. And just for context, too, the way that you know this guy is the real deal, James Lindsay, on his Wikipedia page, which obviously is not necessarily any type of valid source, but for this it is, it says Dr. James Stephen Lindsay, known professionally as James A. Lindsay, is an American author, cultural critic, mathematician, and conspiracy theorist. Well, if we've learned anything in recent history, it's that anything that's labeled a conspiracy theory is really just the truth 9 months before it's exposed as the truth. So Dr. James Lindsay is a truth teller. He's a truth teller. And now I get to talking with him a little bit about so we started with academia, but I move on and want to talk with him about how wokeism and woke Marxism has worked its way into business. And so here's me talking to him about that.
A little bit, because obviously we know that our academic institutions have been incredibly woke for quite a while, and you proved that with your almost parody and stand-up comedy-esque academic journals. Business, what used to be known as a place where people would seek profit and to help a consumer find a need, is now inserting itself into the social political atmosphere with things such as Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light pushing the trans agenda, the LGBTQ and pride agenda into some of most America's most beloved brands. And now, I mean, Americans aren't having it. They're going back. And so it has to do with Marxism, you say, and with the insertion. So exactly, can you lay out how that is?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a mechanism that it's all being run through called ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance scoring of corporations. And they have all these proxy measures, like what's called a corporate equality index. The Human Rights Campaign does a corporate equality index. The corporate equality index measures how promotional you are for LGBT stuff. Well, that goes into your social score and your governance score for your ESG score. And that determines how much access you have to like short-term capital, lines of credit, listings, and Scott indices, and all of these different stuff, stock indices. And so there's a lot of levers of control. If you want to have a corporation that works at scale, at business, big scale, you've got to be completely compliant to this. You've got to buy into it. And so they're manipulating our corporations using that score. But what it is it's the fruit of the long march through the institutions, which is the Marxist program. You take over education, in the next generation, you have all the professionals. The professionals go into HR departments, corporate executive boards, the banks, etc. They start remaking those in terms of their ideology. and then it's captured from within. And that's what's happened, and that's how it actually works.
That's insane. And so you say they, and so I'm willing to bet that your average naked man on the streets of New York during the Pride Parade is not the overall Marxist that's pushing all this. So who is they that wants this agenda, and why do they want it?
Well, I mean, the two biggest overt organizations pushing this stuff, as far as kind of nonprofit sort of things, are the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. A lot of people don't know ESG was created as a strategy for using people's pension money to do activism investing, impact investing they call it, at the United Nations in 2003 by a man named James Gifford. This was a UN creation in the first place. The World Economic Forum pushes it harder than anybody. The other theys that are pulling around the corporations work in tandem with them. We take, for example, Larry Fink, the executive chairman of BlackRock, which is the largest investment firm in the world. It's been described in the media as the fourth branch of American government.
The fourth branch of American government, right? So I have more, I get into a little bit more about why these people want this. But as he stated, it's these big organizations that we've talked about on this show before, the World Economic Forum, BlackRock, Vanguard, other players. It's everything we kind of know, but here's the thing, and I think this is the most important thing, is how it slithers through our institutions. Sorry, I can't get every word right all the time. Slithers through our institutions. It starts in education. Why does it start in education? Because you need to indoctrinate the entire generation to then believe this for the future. And then, once they get out all the way through their education and now they're in the workforce, well, then they take everything that they just learned, all the woke crap, into the workforce, and it gets implemented there. And then into the government. And then, ultimately, the world. That is their plan. Now, why exactly do they want to do this, and how are they doing this even more? Well, Dr. Lindsay and I continue with this. Dr. Lindsay and I talk about this, and he starts off with to take over the entire world.
The entire world. How do you get power over the entire world? They look at Xi Jinping with power over all of China and then everything in its Belt and Road Initiative, and they say, we want that. We want that power back. We used to have that power when it was European empires. We want that power back. How do we get it? Well, we got to start controlling American freedom. Well, where is the biggest reservoir of freedom that we can tap into? We can't lock them up arbitrarily. We can't kill them arbitrarily. We don't have that kind of state, but we can start manipulating their property rights. We can say, yeah, you can have your property, but we're going to limit what you can do with it and how you can use it. And so they start taking away your property rights, and they did that through the corporations, through these huge financial levers like we talked about.
It's absolutely insane. And so if we do not stand up, if we do not say something about what's going on, what will our consequences be?
I think that, George Orwell said, if you want a vision of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. But if you want a more kind of high resolution image of what that looks like, I encourage you to look at what's happening in China, because the goal is to remake the West to look like an ESG mirror image of China. This is a model we all know about. Mao Zedong, the communist dictator that took over China. Nobody knows about his successor, whose name was Deng Xiaoping. And Deng Xiaoping retooled the CCP to have the open market that it has today.
Basically, they want to make it so that the entire world just looks like China. Why exactly do they want this? Well, he touched on that a little bit. They want their power back, essentially. And this, I'm paraphrasing here. America is a threat to unitary power. At one point, America was owned by the British. We all know. Then 1776 comes around, and the greatest political documents were ever written in the next few decades. One, the Declaration of Independence, 1776. And we have the Constitution, which was 1788, June 21st, 1788. And so we have those greatest political documents ever written, and it is the goal of these zealots, these neo-Marxist, progressive, leftist zealots, again, not your average gay guy that's naked on the street at a pride parade. These tippy-top 1%. This is why I'm a populist, everybody. This is why I'm going to sound a little bit like Bernie Sanders here for a second. The tippy-top 1%ers that are participating in the World Economic Forum and are a part of these secret societies and everything that we know about. Again, this isn't a conspiracy theory. They go out and say it. They literally say at the World Economic Forum that they have a plan for a new world order. That new world order, make everyone China. And that's exactly what James says. But, again, sounds hopeless, right? Sounds hopeless. But I asked James specifically, what can we do? What can we do to make sure that does not happen? And so let's take a look, everybody.
Putting it out there. So what can people like you do? Start researching, start talking about it, start getting together with friends, stop apologizing, stop trying to be politically correct, say the truth. Don't just go be an edgy person to be edgy. It's not about that. That's leftist stuff. It's about, no, we're going to be real. We're going to talk about what's really happening. We're going to find out what's really happening. We're going to tell the truth, and we're going to start organizing with each other. There's 6,000 people come to this.
Yeah.
This event we're at, 6,000 people are here. That's a lot. Well, it was like 4,000 last year.
Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you? We have growth. So what do? We're doing it. Don't give up. Keep doing more of it. That's what we do.
The silent majority will not be silent any longer. Thank you so much, Dr. James Lindsay, for your education. It's absolute genius right here, everybody. Go look him up. What's your social media so everybody can make sure that they follow you?
Yeah, website is New Discourse.
So it's newdiscourses.com. I did get cut off a little bit there by my cameraman at the end. But thank you, Grant, by the way, for being a great cameraman. I really do appreciate it. But newdiscourses.com. And again, the silent majority cannot be silent. Why am I here? Why am I doing this show? Because the silent majority cannot be silent. Period. The silent majority cannot be silent. If we are the majority, as we claim to be within the idea of being a silent majority, then why are we silent? When all this stuff is happening, and again, we are doing a pretty good job. We are sending Bud Light to the grave, $30+ billion down. Other companies have also started to see it. A big one being Target. I don't want to move on to my next segment real quick. I want to say thank you again to Dr. James Lindsay. I'm going to try to get him on again. He's just an incredibly intelligent guy. Go check out New Discourses. Go check out some of his books. Cynical Theories, written in 2020. Race Marxism 2022, so many more. That he's just an incredibly intelligent guy. I'm sure you can find some of those essays he talked about as well. Just so smart. Go check that stuff out. He really is an absolute genius. But the silent majority will not be silent. And there are some that have taken a really interesting take on that. I'm serious. We've talked about it on this show. So Target was another one that made headlines recently with their woke advertisements aimed at children, using the trans agenda, Satanism, all that kind of stuff. And so there's this guy. His name is Forgiato Blow, and some of his friends made this song that ended up going absolutely viral. And so I'm going to share it on my screen here. And I know we've played it on here before, but here is this song, Boycott Target, that ended up becoming like #1 on iTunes at one point. And I actually got a chance to talk to him, so stick around. But here's the song to remind everybody. Boycott Target. The mayor of Magaville himself.
Yeah. Attention all shoppers. Yeah. There's a cleanup on every aisle. Yeah. Target is targeting your kids. Yeah. They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep a strap, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, you know we gonna win when they target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids. Target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target. You know the targets, they're wrong. Trying to play with the kids. It's the mayor of Magaville. I'm preaching again. You know the LGBTQ done went too far. You know they cutting these kids. They leaving trannies with scars. Why they pushing the agenda, promoting sexual genders? I'm only rocking with Bruce. Don't rock with no Caitlyn Jenner. You think that gay shit gon' get you paid? Yeah, we gon' see. It's Mar-a-Lago 2020 for we trumpet, baby. They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep a strap, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, you know we gonna win.
This song goes so flipping hard.
Yeah, they target.
It goes so hard. It's amazing, and it's amazing. And again, it blew up. It became like the #1 song on iTunes and everything like that for quite a while. People still listen to it. I still listen to it. And rap isn't even my genre. Not a big rap fan, I'll be honest. But I got a chance to talk with the guy that wrote it, Forgiato Blow. And you can go check him out. He apparently has another song coming out. He actually apparently has another song coming out. But here is my interview with the man, the myth, the legend, the mayor of Magaville, Forgiato blow.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Speechless on Cities 92.9. I am your host, Kev, and I'm here with Fugiato. That's how I pronounce it.
Forgiato Blow. Forgiato Blow.
The mayor of Magaville, the writer and singer of Boycott Target, the honestly viral song. Can you just give me a little bit of insight as to how you got that song out so quickly and what has come of the success of it?
Well, me and my friends, we just couldn't believe what they're doing to the children out here, you know, so we try to fight hard, take a stand. We walked into Target and I saw they've always had rainbows and stuff in stores, but never in the children's department, right? It was a little crazy to me. So, you know, get my thoughts together. I thought about it. We went and did the video. We shot inside Target. Went viral. It was great. I got a new song coming out called MTG. Me and MTG Maga's MVP. Me and Marjorie just shot the video yesterday. It's amazing. We're here at Turning Point. Everyone's having a good time. Fighting for freedom, fighting to get Trump back in office.
Heck yeah, I really appreciate it. One more question. So when you were filming that video in Target, like, were the employees there? Like, what was going on in that Target when you were filming it?
They need a harmonica player in your song. I got you. No, nobody wants to work these days. We know that. They were just looking like, when do we get off?
I got you. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much.
I couldn't believe that I was actually able to get that. It was super quick, spur of the moment. If you can't tell, he was actually just about to go on to an interview on Real America's Voice. It was insane. Really cool to meet him. And again, he's got another song coming out, so don't forget to go check him out. I'll put maybe up here somewhere. I'll make sure that you guys can go click on his profile, be able to keep up with exactly what he's doing. But it's, again, the silent majority will not be silenced. And so if you want hope, and if you want to know what to do, that's what we got to do. We got to be louder than ever, everybody, and find creative ways to do it. I mean, even that one guy came up and said, you need some harmonica in your songs. You need some harmonica in your songs. I can't believe I got it on the mic and everything, too. You need some harmonica in your songs, or Forgiato. Forgiato's going to have some harmonica in his songs. Yeah, whatever. I'm not that great at the Trump impression, but I have a lot of fun doing it. And so, yes, we got to be creative with how we get the message out there. Look, I'm trying to do this thing right here. I produced it all myself. I got my camera sponsored by Paul Garcia Productions. Of course, I got my mics from my phenomenal conservative activist radio station out here. And same with the studio. But we gotta find ways to get our messages out there. We got to. And so share this video, guys. Everybody, if you're liking what you're seeing, please, please, please like, subscribe, and share. I'd really appreciate it. I really would. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking. Trying to bring you guys the best content. I really am. And again, I know there was maybe a little bit of audio stuff. It's not the best. It gets loud at those places, but I'm editing it up, making sure it's good for you. But that's the point. We got to get our messages out there. And so if you feel like you can't really do anything, if you feel like you don't even have a voice, anything like that, at least let me be your voice. Like, subscribe, and share this video. Especially share it on Facebook to all your friends. You probably won't get banned. I share them too. So everything like that. And leave me a comment, because even comments help boost it in the ratings. But I do want to end this out with some of the amazing opportunities I also had and give you guys a taste for what could be coming in the future. I want to introduce you guys to a few of the different people that I was also able to meet while I was down there at the conference. One being one of my absolute personal heroes, Dan Bongino. Yes, Dan Bongino. I got a great picture with him. Met him just actually yesterday as I'm recording this on Monday. I met him yesterday right before I left and had a bunch of flight problems and everything. But I was able to talk with Dan a little bit, and I got a contact information. And so hopefully sometime soon I'll be able to either bring him on here or go on his show and clip it and put it on my YouTube channel. Love Dan. Love all the work that he does. Prayed for him as he went through his cancer. I believe he's out of it now. But absolutely, Dan Bongino, amazing to be able to meet and talk with him. Obviously, I already covered Charlie Kirk, who I've met a few times, talked to him a little bit more about what I've been doing on YouTube. He already knew I had a radio show. I actually have a video with him, very brief, from when I was down at Mar-a-Lago. The first video on this channel I ever posted, and you could always go check that out. But then another very interesting person, and I'm working with his people right now to hopefully make an interview happen. Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, who is running for president. It's an absolute pleasure to meet him. He actually threw a party for college kids and even some of the adults that attended the conference. It was amazing. Had a great turnout. Very interesting guy, and even making his way up in the polls right now, according to Morning Consult. He is at 8% to DeSantis' 10% as Trump is hovering, I believe, around 40. And so, hey, it might feel like a long shot to some people, but this could be the next president of our United States. And I'm hoping to be able to get him on this show. Incredibly nice guy, very down to earth. And I have a lot of questions for you, Vivek. I got a lot of questions for you, Vivek. So yes, I had a great time at Turning Point USA's multiple conferences this last weekend. Got my beautiful little hat here. I'm so happy. I'll be wearing it sometimes. And thank you guys for tuning in. I know this was a longer show. I had a lot to recap. And tomorrow, I'll be back with the normal daily show. And I got a lot to cover because I was gone for so long. I was watching the news and everything. I was keeping an eye on it for all y'all out there. Can you believe that they don't know who had the cocaine? They don't know. They don't know. They don't know. I'm going to cover that and a lot more tomorrow because I got to do. What did I miss? What did I miss? What did we miss? Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Kev Phares, and I'll be back tomorrow with more Speechless, The Daily Show.